Kia ora koutou katoa. Noa o tatahi Aotearoa, ko Steve Macdonald, tōku ingoa. What I've just done is introduced and welcomed you in Māori. Māori is a particularly important language to New Zealanders. It is the native language of New Zealand, and we celebrate it every opportunity we can. For those of you that don't know where New Zealand is, we're not the seventh state of Australia, and it's probably the furthest you can fly to America without catching two planes. What I'm going to talk to you about today is Orion's implementation of Maximo, which we went live 3 months ago on. A little bit about Orion. Our owners are municipal councils. We're owned by 2 municipal councils. One owns 10% of us, and one owns 90%. And that reasonably reflects the value of the asset that we have in their region. We're an electricity network distribution company. So what that means is we don't transmit, we don't generate, and we don't retail electricity. We only distribute to the homes. Our region, for those of you that don't know, that's a picture of New Zealand, and the region that we occupy is that green bit in the bottom there. We're bounded by 2 significant rivers, the Waimakariri and the Rakaia, and we extend from the sea to the mountains in the middle. And it takes about 2.5 hours to drive that east to west. We've got $1.7 billion worth of assets, and that's comprised of 14,700 kilometres of lines and cables, and substations, power transformers, and all the associated property that goes with that. In terms of customer numbers, we are the 3rd largest in New Zealand. We are small compared to an American perspective, but we've got 230,000 connected customers and a population of 500,000 in our region. So we embarked on a program to do integrated asset management, or IAM as we've coined it. It's important to us, that integration. It consisted primarily of implementing an asset register, a works management system, and a GIS upgrade. But key to our journey was the bit on the right, being able to integrate those 3 systems together, but also to our other legacy systems, such as our finance system, or our modern platform SCADA system. We had a big why, and a lot of the things I'm talking to you about the why come from an earthquake that occurred in 2011, and the why we're doing it now and why we didn't do it then. We had asset data integration issues, so fragmented data systems where data existed, and it was true we had a lot of data, but we didn't know in what system it existed. None of those systems were connected. We had manual processes. In fact, a lot of what we did was manual. When you've got systems that aren't integrated, it requires manual processes to move it from one to the next. When we had a new CEO join us, he counted up one process that we had that took 27 manual steps to complete a process. And that's manual steps of someone in that pipeline picking something up, doing something with it, and putting it down for someone else. Our documentation was unstructured. So again, well, lots of data, lots of documents, but they existed in emails, they existed in someone's drive on their computer, or they existed in a cloud or a prem device, and it wasn't structured. So they knew where to find it, but a lot of people around them didn't. Our data governance as a result was inconsistent, outdated, and incomplete. Because we could store our data wherever the person receiving it decided they wanted to store it, we weren't always sure that it was in a complete state for us to do anything with. As a result of that, it led to reporting that was fairly limited. So because we didn't have consistent and repeatable data, we couldn't get granularity on what that data might have told us if we had it in a good state. And underutilisation of Power BI, something that we've adopted in the last few years as Power BI reporting, but the more we want, well, what would it tell us if we had that? And we underutilised that. We had a digital strategy that was fragmented in its efforts. So there wasn't a shortage of people in our business that wanted a digital strategy, that wanted to do something different, but we were fragmented in our efforts and we were unclear in our objectives and metrics. It was clear that we needed to do something though. So we looked for systems that could deliver for our future needs, our technology advancements. Again, the earthquakes in 2011, and it was multiples, and we were talking with some people at dinner last night. It took out 1,000 of our CBD buildings. That was 80% of our CBD wiped in a single couple of minutes of earthquake. At that time, we decided that we did not have the ability to invest in digital transformation, although we should have. We had legacy systems at that stage. We did maintenance upgrades to our existing systems, and a couple of years ago we said, that's it, we need a digital strategy, we need a digital transformation. We've invested in technology that meets our advancing needs. We've got a network that's increasing in network capacity, and at lunch I heard the same issue with other networks as well. Electricity is becoming more and more relied upon by everyone for everything they do. When you go back to your room tonight and you plug your cell phone in, imagine trying to do that if you didn't have electricity. Everyone's just reliant on it, and it doesn't matter whether you live in a city or a country, everyone's reliant on it. Asset renewal plans. A lot of assets were built in the 1960s and 70s, now coming end of life, and we're up for replacing that. And a strengthening resilience. So in our business, we talk a lot about resilience being the lines and cables in the ground. But if you don't have resilience in your asset management and you don't have resilience in your systems and processes, then your asset in the ground isn't truly resilient. And lastly, improving efficiency. Being able to remove those 27 manual steps, and remember that was one example, being able to remove those and automate as much as we can will enable us to have our people doing what they enjoy and what they're trained to do. So we embarked on Maximo and Maximo Application Suite in particular. It had a user-friendly interface. We've got a culture in New Zealand where if something's new to you, you just pick it up and you go with it. And if you haven't been trained in something, you still will give it a go. It's a number 8 wire culture. And it was true with Maximo that you could do that. Now, I'm not promoting that you shouldn't train your people, but we've got people that have been able to find their way around Maximo. We'll be able to cost optimise through our use of Maximo, something that we haven't been able to do before. And then linking that to our GIS capabilities. Being able to, through GIS, view where our assets are and what we're doing with them, as well as use GIS to report back to Maximo as well. We knew that this was a huge digital transformation. We're a small company and we didn't have all the capabilities that we would need to undertake this. So part of us being able to do this well and demonstrating to our board that we were a safe pair of hands with this was engaging with the right providers. And so we looked to the market and we engaged with Deloitte. They came with solutions that we didn't have, and we were honest with each other as to what solutions we were looking for. Deloitte also engaged with Certus Digital Solutions in New Zealand because they also brought something to the table that the three of us needed. Deloitte and Certus had extensive experience, specialised skills, and methods, tools, and approaches that we didn't have. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we come on to the next slides. But really having that team approach to the solution is what got us to the end goal. Or should I say, to one of the end goals. We've got lots of end goals in this program. We faced some challenges, and system integration complexity was one of those. When you're trying to implement a new system, but you've got a mass number of legacy systems, that are either unsupported by the vendor, or in some cases we had internal support that had retired years ago. Actually trying to integrate a new system with those became challenging, but we overcome it with our partners, Deloitte and Certus. Data quality and accessibility, and I've heard so much about this yesterday in the sessions that I'm in. Yeah, I think someone mentioned if you had 60% accuracy on your data, why would you run your business that way? I think it was you, Terence. That's true, and we faced that same challenge. But we were clear in the start that we weren't going to take poor data in because it would give us a poor result out. So we spent a lot of time on cleansing our data, ready to go into Maximo. And sorry, I'll pick up. And the accessibility thing. Again, we had data in PDFs. We had it in people's heads. We had it in emails, and it wasn't being stored in a place that we could bring it through. Coordination with external partners. And that's not Deloitte and Certus, but the model that we operate means that we contract out our work. So we own the asset, but someone else does the work for us. While we were ambitious in terms of our program to put in Maximo, it needed to work with our contractors as well, because we wanted a solution that was successful from day one and not one that our other partners had to catch up with. And because of that, our timeline didn't always align with theirs. And lastly, change capability. Orion's not a business that does change well. We knew that. We didn't have the capability to lead change, and we didn't have the capability to receive change. That's something that we were very clear with Deloitte when we engaged with them, is they had that capability, but we wanted to develop it, so it was part of the package that we went with Deloitte. The outcomes are we've mitigated our business risks. So we've got those business risks about data quality, knowing what our asset is mitigated, and we know where that data is. Operational benefits. I talked to our board when I put the business case up, and they said, well, obviously you want some money. What's it going to deliver? And we promised our board 35 or so million New Zealand dollars in benefits, mainly from avoided headcount increase. We've got a program to grow our network by 100% CapEx in the next 10 years. We wanted to do that without increasing our headcount by 100%. We've achieved that, we believe we'll achieve that through a 20% increase in headcount, through optimising our processes and being more efficient. And then future efficiencies. So there's no end of products on the expo hall that talked about the efficiency you can get when you've got Maximo in, and that's what we're looking to as well. We received a quality outcome, and when you're delivering a program, time, cost, quality are really important. At times we focused too much on quality. We're an engineering dominated business, and engineers like to be 110 or 120% before they move on. And that led to us focusing just a little bit too much on that quality, and perhaps at times letting the time and cost slip a bit. That said, we delivered to an acceptable time. We were a business that were probably too ambitious in terms of what our people were prepared to give up. We're a country that typically takes 3 weeks off at Christmas time. It's lovely in summer and Christmas time. But our people weren't prepared to give up their 3 weeks, so we were ambitious in our time. We developed change capability, something that we hadn't had in our business. And importantly for the board, because they all had war stories about digital transformation projects, we did that within the budget envelope. We had some key learnings though, and these are predominantly in the steering committee that I was a member of. In fact, I was sponsoring. The steering committee was made up of Deloitte, Certus, and 5 exec members across Orion and Kinetics, our contracting company. At times, we didn't run issues to ground. We did lots of talking about issues, but we'd get to the end of the meeting, we'd go, right, that's it, we'll park that till the next meeting. and that led to the delays and decisions not being made. We learned it's not a place to learn. So by that I mean, we thought when we embarked on this would be a great place to put Jimmy in this role. It'd be a great place to put Mary in this role, but they were lead roles. And when you're delivering a digital program like this, lead roles are not the place to put people to learn. Put people in lead roles who are highly capable and surround them with your people that you want them to learn from. Don't lose focus on the outcomes. At times we focused on the wrong things and lost focus on the outcome. That potentially led to the time and the cost. And stay out of the detail. Most of the exec members that were on the steering committee also had business units that were going to be benefiting from Maximo. So we had interest in making sure that the detail was right. What I'm not promoting here is that you shouldn't have people in the detail, and we've got a business full of people that like the detail. They're the people that should be in the program, not in the steerco talking about the detail. So what's next for us? We're looking at strategic asset investment. Being able to know what our asset's costing us, where it's costing, and when it's costing is really important for us. Being able to know that we can build a program that meets the business objectives, and when those business objectives change, that it's not a whole lot of work to recalculate the program that we're going to deliver. Asset performance management. So that's about, obviously, now that we know our assets, we're bringing the data in from our assets, actually to be able to drive the performance of those assets. And I mentioned to someone at dinner last night, I would not have a clue if we're replacing our assets too early, if we're replacing them just right, because we don't track that performance in a way that we can manage what we're spending or how we're driving them. Health, safety and environment. I think currently we have three to four systems where we can record health and safety incidents. So actually being able to have one place where we store them and being able to tag that potentially to assets will allow us to be a more informed business around our health and safety obligations and keeping our people safe. And knowledge management. That's about having the knowledge where we can access it, where everyone can access it, whether you're day one or year 30 in your journey with us. So that's it from me. There's my contact details. Please, if you wish, take a photo, contact me. I'm hanging around for the next day or so. So if you see me around, any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.